Leftist activists are planning to demonstrate at churches this Sunday. That's right, Mother's Day. And they're protesting, really, I guess, out of anger over the leaked draft opinion from the Supreme Court that would overturn Roe v. Wade. They're also sending protesters to the homes of 6 conservative Supreme Court justices, insisting that they, quote, must rise up to force accountability using a diversity of tactics, end quote. Already, some Supreme Court justices have had to cancel scheduled public appearances following the leak of this draft opinion because of security concerns. And yesterday, U.S. Senator John Cornyn of Texas introduced the Supreme Court Police Parity Act, which would allow Supreme Court police security to provide security for the families of justices as well as the justices themselves. So what are we to make of all of this as we see how the left is responding? How are those on the right responding? With me now to talk about this and more is Congresswoman Vicky Hartzler. She serves on 2 committees in the House, including the Armed Services Committee. She represents the 4th Congressional District of Missouri. Congresswoman Hartzler, welcome back to the program.
Thank you, Tony. It's good to be here.
So let me just ask you, what's your reaction to the left's intimidation campaign that's underway?
It's despicable and it's evil. It is sacrosanct what we have at the Supreme Court, and for forever we have had this trust where the decisions aren't made until the last minute and then they are finalized, and to have this leak happen and then it's a pure intimidation tactic is just deplorable. And I think it's ironic that they are going to be protesting on Mother's Day in front of churches when really that's what this is all about. These aren't just women who are pregnant, they are expectant mothers. And that baby should have the opportunity to live, and the mothers should have support. And that's what the pro-life movement is for. It is for speaking up for the unborn babies that have a potential and have a plan and from God. But it's also supporting those expectant mothers throughout that process, whether they go on and parent the child themselves or whether they consider allowing another couple to be able to give them a forever home. That's what we're fighting for. And it's ironic that they would be trying to protest that on Mother's Day. They're really protesting motherhood.
Yeah, I don't know if they missed the irony in this or not, but I would encourage churches, invite them in, at a minimum, have speakers outside. So if they're outside protesting, let them hear the service. Because I'm sure there's going to be some great messages preached about motherhood. And this really is what it's about. This is about mothers and it's about children. It's not just about, this is not a political issue. And I think you and I have talked about this before. It's so evident with what we see it's happening at the Supreme Court, what is these threats that are being made, that this is not a political or a policy issue. This at its heart is a spiritual issue. This is about life and death. And America stands at a very pivotal moment, whether we'll choose life or we'll choose death.
Yes, and I'm so hopeful that the Supreme Court decision will end up becoming the final decision where they overturn an egregious decision that was made back in the 70s, which took away the ability for elected representatives to weigh in on this and made abortion legal across the land. And I hope that this will be finalized, that our justices will not be intimidated, and that they will go ahead and stand strong for the Constitution as well as for life.
I want to switch gears for just a moment because an issue that you have been very outspoken on is this whole transgender confusion that's being pushed by this administration. And I know the House is back in their district this week for District Work Week, but the Senate is here. And yesterday, the Secretary of Health and Human Services, Javier Becerra, testified at the Senate Appropriations Committee hearing and was pressed by Republican Senator Mike Braun of Indiana on the Biden administration's endorsement of quote-unquote, gender-affirming care for minors. Play clip number 3, please.
Kids going through this are having a hard time. We should be maybe focusing more on mental health and not things that are irreversible.
Of course, Secretary Becerra disagreed with that, pushing that we need to allow these minors to make these decisions based on their consultation with their doctors, not their parents, but their doctors. Your response?
Oh, this is deplorable. It's unbelievable. This is child abuse. This is sanctioned child abuse. You know, the statistics show that 98% of these children who are confused about their identity end up settling in their biological sex. And it doesn't help their mental health just to get the gender transition surgeries. We know that there's just as many suicides on the backside of that as there are before. It doesn't solve the problem. These children need to be supported. They need to be loved. If they need some counseling, perhaps that should be given as well. But you don't allow them to make these life-changing surgical decisions when they're so young. This is just wrong. And it's not gender affirming. It's not health. It is dangerous and it is damaging to these young people. I'm a former teacher, I'm a former track coach, I'm a mom. I mean, we need to stand up for these kids and protect them from these adults who think they know what they're doing and being compassionate, but they are damaging these individuals for the rest of their lives.
Yeah, and I think in some cases they're actually using these children to advance their own political agenda. And during this exchange, Secretary Becerra also seemed to say that the FDA approval wasn't necessary for the off-the-label usage of these hormone blockers for the gender transition in minors. I mean, is this the Biden administration following the science by just doing whatever they want?
They're following the political science. That's all they're following. And they're endangering children's lives as a result of it. No one would agree, no parent should agree to allow their child to receive these drugs that haven't even been tested or approved for these uses. And yet they're willing to look the other way when it comes to this issue because it fits their political agenda. And they don't have the courage to stand up and to say, no, this isn't good for you. There's a better way. And we're going to support these children and help them through this difficult time in their life. We're not going to allow them to have this surgery that's going to impact them for the rest of their lives.
Well, I'm grateful that we have leaders like you, Vicki, that are willing to stand up, that have the courage to stand up and say, no, this is not the right way forward. And by the way, Congresswoman Vicky Hartzler, happy Mother's Day.
Oh, thank you very much. I appreciate it.